Welcome. My name is Dr. Eric Landrum. I'm from the Department of Psychology, Boise State University, and this is a brief Jing video about SPSS and how to start up and just basically how to navigate the opening screen in an SPSS file. I'm going to assume that you're going to be in a computer lab, and so it might be an icon at the bottom, or it might actually be in the startup list as you see it here for me. But just in case it isn't, I'm going to show you kind of the long way to find it. And so just click on All Programs, and then you might have to scroll through and look at the long list. And then here it is under SPSS Incorporated, and the current version I'm using is 17.0. And you would just click on that to get it started. It's going to take a couple seconds. You're going to see an opening screen. And essentially, the format is going to look very familiar to a spreadsheet. You're going to see rows and columns. Now, there's a couple of really important details to notice about this file. Although it looks like a spreadsheet, one really important thing to note down here that I'm pointing with my cursor is, are we in data view, which we are now. You can see the yellow highlighted here on my screen. Or if I click on variable view. Although it still looks like rows and columns, these row headings have changed dramatically, and it's a really important difference. And so just in terms of basic navigation, you want to pay attention to either the data view, where we're looking at data, or the variable view, which we'll start in if we were setting up a problem from scratch, for example. We weren't working a problem that already had data, but if we had to enter new data, we'd want to always start in variable view. So I want to go back to data view here, and so a couple basic ideas. First off, the rows that you see here numbered 1 through 25 that I'm pointing at, the rows are going to be individual people or observations. And so if a person answered a 10-item survey, they would be one row across. And so this, like I've highlighted person number 4 here, this would be one person whose responses are going across the row. And so the rows are people. The columns are variables. So you actually see it's abbreviated VAR for now. Until you've actually set up a file, that's going to be the default setting, VAR for variable. And so the rows are going to be individuals with multiple observations or survey questions or data points. And the columns are going to be the different variables in your study. And those might be independent variables, dependent variables, subject variables, all the different types of things you've been learning about in research methods. All right, and so briefly again, the rows are going to be an individual, the columns are going to be variables. Now, how might we set up those variables if we're going to start a problem from scratch? We would start in variable view. It's still rows and columns, but now this is going to be a master list of your variables. And you'll see in some assignments that you'll have to set this up if you're entering data from scratch. For other assignments, you'll be given a data file in which all of this will already be filled in, and that'll be a nice template for you. All right, just a couple other basics that you'll want to know about. Data view, variable view, that's an important one. You've got a typical file menu system here, and so you can save files. When you save a file, I would recommend that you save it to a USB memory stick or USB flash drive, and so it's portable. You can take it with you. We'll be using the Analyze tab here a lot because here are all the analyses that you can do in the current version of SPSS installed in the computer labs on your campus. We'll occasionally be using transform if we want to compute a new variable or we want to recode something into something else. And occasionally the data to select cases if we want to select a subset. So for example, if you had males and females in your data set, we could select only the females and then do analyses on that data. But sometimes it's helpful to sort your data as well if you want to see from top to bottom of a value of a variable. And so typically we'll be using the file for saving, the data occasionally, transforming fairly often, and then analyze all the time. And so for example, here's where we'll do our descriptives, we'll do our t-tests here and compare means. You can see a one-way ANOVA here. A GLM, we'll do our two-way ANOVAs with the univariate procedure. When we do a correlation, we'll just select bivariate. When we do a chi-square, there's a couple different ways. I typically do it through crosstabs, although there's different ways you can do it. And there's all kinds of different things that you can do here. SPSS is an incredibly powerful program. All right, well, that's it for me and this video on how to start up and navigate SPSS.